Alright, today we're on to the next weapon on our list of the new guns in the final content update for Battlefield 5. It's the Welgun, an SMG for the medic class. Be sure to let me know what you think of this one in the comments below. I expect a lot due to how many people are using this gun right now. And I'm still not feeling too great, so sorry if this is shorter today in terms of what I cover. I'll fill out the rest of the video with footage if it's not a decent length. But yeah, we're seeing this gun absolutely everywhere right now, at least on console. You can let me know if it's the same on PC. It seems to be extremely popular, and part of that is down to it being new, of course, and part of it is down to it being an SMG, which is generally a fun and popular weapon type to use anyway. But clearly, there's a prevailing feeling that it's very good, at least from what I can tell from the community, looking at Twitter, looking at forums, looking at Reddit, playing the game, all that kind of stuff. And so some are saying it's too strong, but is that the case? Or is it possible that it's actually overrated? So let's cover the basics first and build up our understanding of the Welgun. And as we're talking about numbers, shameless plug, consider subscribing if you haven't before. I'm trying to hit 50k while there's still content on this game. Got a long way to go until the next one. At 44k now, so I'd massively appreciate it. So the Welgun fires at 568 rounds per minute. It has 32 rounds per reload. It's of the, let's say, average damage per bullet model for an SMG, lower than something like the Grease gun, but higher than something like the Type 2A or the Type 100, etc. And this leads to bullet kill values of 4 shots out to 10 meters, 5 out to 20, 6 out to 30, 7 out to 50, 8 out to 75, and 9 beyond that. And so with that in mind, let's just say that the flavor of the month, i.e. the new guns, the popular ones, sometimes get put on a pedestal, because we're all kind of guilty of doing this at times. You use a new gun, you kill some people, you have fun, and you proclaim it to be the best thing since sliced bread. But in reality, the Welgun is stunningly similar to some other guns in the game. Let's take the Sten as an example. It's similar to that in a lot of ways, and that's a gun which was available at BF5's release. In fact, it was the starter weapon for medic, and is now an often overlooked choice. So here's the TTK chart. You can see that it's very, very close to the Sten, killing just ever so slightly faster due to firing ever so slightly faster. 568 RPM compared to 540. So if we break this down and we're looking at this as the base guns without specializations, the Sten has better horizontal recoil from what I can tell looking at the stats, but the Welgun has a bit better recoil going upwards. I'm adding this little bit here as an edit afterwards. I should explain. Better horizontal recoil matters more than better vertical recoil up to a certain point, as long as it's manageable, because it's easier to just pull down to control vertical recoil, whereas horizontal recoil bouncing left and or right is less predictable and causes you to move off your target more frequently. Okay, back to my commentary. And the Welgun fires slightly faster, as we covered, while the Sten has better bullet velocity for an easier time landing longer range shots, and slightly more so again if you consider that a slightly slower rate of fire can actually help with recoil control, while the Welgun then has slightly better reload speeds. My point being, the Welgun isn't particularly filling a niche here that wasn't already filled. There have been options available for this kind of play since the game released, and more so, ones that aren't even that popular now. It could then be argued that the Welgun isn't actually then doing a better job of it than other guns in the game. And then there's probably an even better comparison we can make which really rams this point home. The EMP, if you remember that gun, has the same rate of fire with the same magazine size and the same damage output. And I think you can likely see where I'm going with this point already. The EMP is being one of the most underappreciated and underused SMGs in the game at some points during BF5's life cycle, and these two are incredibly similar. To break it down simply, the Welgun is essentially an EMP with a little better upwards recoil at the cost of worse horizontal recoil, plus with a little better reload times, and that's that. So I've seen some describe the Welgun as a bad EMP due to this, plus a key point which I get to right after this summary. For me, it's essentially a toss-up, specifically in their unupgraded forms without specializations. But it is pretty fascinating for me either way that the EMP sees little usage, while its almost clone, arguably worse version, the Welgun, is the new in thing to use. So why is it arguably basically worse? Well, the Welgun and the EMP are practically the same gun, with the same available specs except for one. The EMP can have recoil buffer, whereas the Welgun has quick reload in its place. And considering that the Welgun already has a solid reload, that specialization then doesn't offer a whole lot. The alternative on offer for the Welgun is barrel bedding, which provides you with better stationary accuracy, which, don't get me wrong, is nice, but undeniably, SMGs aren't at all the optimal weapon type to consistently make use of that perk. If anything, they're one of the most movement-based weapons in the game. So with that case, with recoil buffer on the EMP, which the Welgun Welgun can't have, it then closes the gap further on the upwards recoil while still basically having superior horizontal recoil. So I'm not saying the Welgun isn't good or doesn't suit some people perfectly or whatever. It comes down to the individual. For those people that just really struggle with upwards recoil, they can just barely control recoil, sometimes on PC but probably more often on console, the Welgun might be the way to go because it just doesn't really kick up very much. So then you just hope your shots land horizontally. And in fact, my pointing out that it's super close to the EMP and my rating of the EMP very highly indicates that the Welgun is indeed a good weapon for the right player. But what I am pointing out is that this may well be another case of a gun coming out and everyone raves about it, uses it, gets sick of being killed by it, etc. Lots of statements get made about it being good or bad or annoying and all of that. And then over time things settle back down again as people then really start to see where the gun places in the overall standings and the role it fulfills. With the truth of the matter being, it's an arguably worse EMP or potentially ever so slightly better depending upon your playstyle and statistical preferences, and either way it's filling a role that we've had other guns filling for ages already, while still not really offering anything new. Kind of a repeat of when the Carabin came out, and it was almost exactly a clone of the Gewehr 43, which then resulted in them changing the Carabin later down the line to differentiate it more so. Now personally, all that aside, I've enjoyed using it, and actually I really like the aesthetic of it. I like how it looks, which always helps me to connect with a weapon. It just feels cool to run around with, I like the animations for it, I like the skin that I've got on it. That all makes a difference for me personally. Oh, and I should cover the specs actually as well. So as ever, use what you prefer, but here's why I use what I use. Currently, I'm on quick aim because I'm a very reactionary player who is ADS play heavy. I use the right side for the middle perks of custom stock and lightened stock because I do a lot of my aiming with my feet, even more so these days. And then barrel bedding at the bottom because I feel the reload is already fast enough. However, it could of course be argued, and is by some knowledgeable people, that on a gun such as this, it makes sense to boost the hipfire due to the weapon already being solid in ADS. Again, I simply haven't done that on this occasion because my tendency to aim with my feet by strafing has increased even more so since my EMP video I did a while ago, where I likely said the opposite and recommended using hipfire specs, so please play around with both and see what you like. And therefore, that is my coverage of the Welgun. Let me know what you think. Is it OP, overrated, or just your average SMG that we already had? I guess I'll see how long this video is now, but I don't feel too good, so if there's more to come, it will be footage. Please enjoy that if you want to stick around, and thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed the video, please do like. If not, leave a dislike. Maybe subscribe if you're new or just haven't done so before. You can check below. Sometimes it's surprising to find that you're not subscribed to someone you watch all the time. And all the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment, where if you do support me on Patreon, you'll join the board of awesome you're seeing right here with all of these absolute heroes who already do so, and I love them all deeply and of course often. So yep, link to that and everything else in the description and my pinned comment. And with all that said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.
Keep going, we can turn this around! drüben ist ein verfluchter MG-Schütze. Feindlicher MG-Schütze. Da drüben. Greif zu! Erste Hilfe!
So if you do stick to mid-range, playing in either the passable or optimal fashion, you can have some success. Just don't go all gung-ho and wild with it. It's not going to work in that manner.